Severe storms are about to erupt across the United States, bringing significant impacts over the coming days. A rapidly changing atmosphere will set the stage for thunderstorms capable of producing damaging winds, large hail, and a few tornadoes. The threat will not end there. During the first 2 weeks of June, an increasingly active weather pattern is expected to fuel additional severe weather outbreaks across multiple regions of the country. The severe weather threat begins today, with 2 separate slight risk areas in place. One stretches across the deep south, while another covers parts of the central plains. Damaging winds are expected to be the primary concern as multiple lines of thunderstorms develop through the afternoon and evening. It is shaping up to be a widespread day of thunderstorms, with pockets of significant severe weather possible. A broader severe weather threat extends from Montana all the way to South Carolina, including major cities such as Atlanta and Birmingham. Damaging wind gusts remain the main hazard, with some storms in the Tennessee Valley potentially producing winds of 75 to 80 miles per hour. Most locations facing severe storms could see wind gusts ranging from 50 to 70 miles per hour. Across the Central Plains, particularly in Kansas and Nebraska, damaging winds may reach up to 80 miles per hour. Residents are encouraged to secure loose outdoor items ahead of the storms. Large hail is also possible, with most areas seeing hail around the size of coins. However, isolated storms east of Denver could produce much larger hail, potentially reaching tennis ball or even baseball size. The tornado threat remains relatively low overall. The primary tornado risk area includes parts of Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado, and Wyoming, though isolated tornadoes cannot be ruled out elsewhere within the broader severe weather zone. Having multiple ways to receive weather alerts is strongly recommended. On Tuesday, a slight risk of severe weather is forecast across the Dakotas, while marginal risks extend across portions of the Great Plains and the Southeast. Thunderstorms are possible across much of the Southeast, the Southern Plains, and even parts of Idaho. Damaging winds and large hail will again be the primary concerns. Areas near Rapid City and portions of North Dakota could see very large hail, including hailstones approaching baseball size. An isolated tornado or two may also develop between Rapid City and Bismarck. Wednesday is expected to bring another round of significant severe weather across the central and northern plains, with damaging winds, hail, and possible tornadoes once again in the forecast. By Thursday, the severe weather threat is expected to continue while gradually shifting farther south and east. Looking at the short-term timing, a cluster of thunderstorms moved through Missouri and Illinois during the morning hours. Earlier overnight, a tornado warning was issued near Kansas City as this storm complex developed. While this initial activity is expected to weaken through the late morning, new thunderstorms are forecast to develop during the afternoon near Cape Girardeau, Poplar Bluff, and possibly the Nashville area. These storms may be somewhat unpredictable, but any organized line of thunderstorms that forms could become significant, bringing damaging winds and a low-end tornado threat through the afternoon. Later in the day, a large line of thunderstorms is expected to develop along the Mississippi River Valley and move generally from north to south. The primary hazard will be damaging winds, with localized gusts potentially reaching 60 to 75 miles per hour. Forecast guidance indicates pockets of 60 to 70 miles per hour winds are possible along portions of the Mississippi River Valley, making this a potentially powerful line of storms. During the evening and overnight hours, the storms are expected to continue moving through areas such as Tupelo, Columbus, and Birmingham, producing scattered damaging wind gusts and occasional small hail. The tornado threat is expected to decrease during the late evening and overnight hours as storms move closer to the Gulf Coast. Farther north and west, a different weather setup is expected to unfold. Thunderstorms are likely to develop across Wyoming during the afternoon, with activity increasing through the evening across parts of Wyoming, Nebraska, and Colorado. If some of these storms remain isolated rather than clustering together, there will be a chance for 1 or 2 tornadoes. However, the tornado risk remains highly conditional and relatively low. The primary concern will be clusters of thunderstorms capable of producing damaging wind gusts. Hail and tornado threats should remain limited if storms organize into larger complexes. As the storms weaken overnight and into Tuesday morning across the Central Plains, the severe weather threat will continue into Tuesday. The northern plains will be the primary focus, though thunderstorms are also expected along the Gulf Coast and across portions of the southern plains. Most storms in these regions should remain relatively isolated, expected, with damaging wind gusts up to 65 miles per hour as the main concern. The northern plains may face a more significant threat. A few tornadoes are possible across the Dakotas, and while the risk remains relatively low, the potential exists for a stronger tornado if favorable storm interactions occur. Similar storm mergers in recent events have contributed to stronger tornado development, making this a situation worth monitoring closely. Very large hail and damaging winds are also expected hazards, and a line of thunderstorms could develop across South Dakota during the late evening hours. By Wednesday, severe weather is expected to persist across much of the same region. Forecasts suggest a greater likelihood of a significant line of thunderstorms developing across North Dakota, primarily producing damaging winds, though a few tornadoes cannot be ruled out. As this storm complex moves eastward Wednesday night into Thursday morning, areas including Minneapolis and Sioux Falls could experience additional severe weather, potentially extending the threat into parts of the Midwest on Thursday. As the responsible low pressure system shifts farther northeast, severe weather potential across the Midwest on Thursday appears somewhat lower. However, isolated to scattered severe thunderstorms remain possible from Minnesota into central and northern Wisconsin. Areas northwest of Wausau, including Eau Claire, may have a greater chance of experiencing severe weather. One factor limiting the severe weather threat across the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and East Coast is the presence of a strong high-pressure system producing widespread sinking air. While this suppresses storm development, it also contributes to ongoing drought conditions and unusually warm temperatures across parts of the Midwest. Looking ahead to Friday, forecast models indicate another potentially potent low-pressure system moving into the Midwest. Areas including Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois could face all modes of severe weather, including damaging winds, large hail, and possible tornadoes. This setup will require close monitoring as the week progresses. By Saturday, some forecast guidance suggests the severe weather threat could shift into the Ohio Valley. Although details remain uncertain this far in advance, the overall pattern points toward an increasingly active stretch of weather. The second week of June is expected to feature multiple rounds of severe weather across the Great Plains as several low-pressure systems move eastward from the Rocky Mountains. This pattern could bring repeated opportunities for thunderstorms, hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes. Since the nation remains within the peak of severe weather season, activity is expected to remain elevated. Rainfall over the next 7 days is expected to be substantial across the Great Plains and Upper Midwest, with many locations receiving several inches of precipitation. In contrast, much of the East Coast, including New England, the Carolinas, and Virginia, is expected to remain relatively dry. Areas west of the Rockies are forecast to receive little to no rainfall through the weekend, resulting in abundant sunshine and continued dry conditions. Meteorological summer has officially begun, and the season is starting with significant heat across large portions of the country. High temperatures across the central and southern plains are expected to reach the mid to upper 90s, while cities in the Midwest and Great Lakes region will enjoy more moderate temperatures in the 60s and 70s. Overnight temperatures will remain relatively mild, with lows in the 50s across much of the Northeast and Great Lakes, 40s in the Pacific Northwest, and 70s to lower 80s across the southern plains and Gulf Coast. The heat is expected to intensify as the first full week of June progresses. Parts of Texas may approach 100 degrees by early next week, and forecast models indicate even higher temperatures later in the week. By the middle of next week, some locations in the Oklahoma Panhandle could reach 104 degrees, while areas such as Garden City and Amarillo may climb to around 100 to 102 degrees, signaling the arrival of a significant early summer heat wave across the Great Plains. The extreme heat is just beginning to build. By next week, temperatures in Dallas could approach 98 degrees, with even hotter conditions expected across portions of Texas and the southern plains. Today also marks the official start of the Atlantic hurricane season. Fortunately, there is good news. No tropical cyclone development is currently expected across the Atlantic basin during the next 7 days. Recent speculation on social media suggested that a tropical system might develop near Florida around this time. However, the latest forecast guidance does not support that scenario. Earlier projections were based on long-range model forecasts, which often carry significant uncertainty and can change considerably as new data becomes available. As hurricane season progresses, forecasters will continue monitoring the Atlantic closely and provide updates whenever credible threats emerge. The focus remains on delivering clear, evidence-based information rather than reacting to speculative, long-range forecasts. If a tropical system develops that could have meaningful impacts on the United States, timely updates will be provided as confidence in the forecast increases. Before concluding, there is also an announcement regarding a newly released merchandise collection featuring popular quotes and phrases that have appeared in videos and live streams over the past year. The collection includes a variety of items such as t-shirts, mugs, and stickers featuring some of the community's favorite sayings. Thank you for following today's weather update. Additional forecasts and potential live coverage may be available later, with ongoing updates provided throughout the severe weather season, hurricane season, and beyond. Stay informed, monitor local forecasts, and be prepared for changing weather conditions in the days ahead.